defensive foul.
Oh, his shovel pass knocked away. Knocked it over to Robinson. Come on. The effort of Tucker.
If there's such a thing as a star role player, he fits the bill like few others. The type of defensive-minded, versatile veteran every contender needs. A tough-as-nails grinder who never shies away from the dirty work. From one of the most well-traveled overseas careers to making tens of millions in the NBA, this is the story behind PJ Tucker. Anthony Leon Tucker Jr. was born May 5th, 1985 in Raleigh, North Carolina, to Anthony Sr. and Alicia Tucker. Sr. would often refer to his son as Pops Jr., which is how PJ came about. By the time he arrived at Raleigh's Daniels Middle School, PJ was already displaying the tenacity that would one day endear him to fans all over the world. As future NBAer Shavlik Randolph told Valley of the Suns about a 7th grade Tucker, he was just this hungry little kid going at me every day at practice, wanting to go one-on-one, talking trash. He didn't play a lot that year, but he made everyone's life miserable in practice. At Enloe High School, the relentless kid who was once nothing more than a practice matchup nightmare became a full-fledged star. As a junior, Tucker was named North Carolina Player of the Year. As a senior, he became the first player in state history to grab 30 rebounds in a game. Tucker left his home state to play college ball for Rick Barnes at Texas, and his production moved with him. As a freshman, PJ averaged double-digit scoring for a Longhorns team that made the Sweet 16. He became a full-time starter as a sophomore. Then as a junior, he led a Texas team featuring LaMarcus Aldridge in scoring, rebounding, and steals. Tucker averaged 16.1 points, 9.5 rebounds, and 1.8 steals for a 30-7 Longhorns team that marched all the way to the Elite Eight, earning Big 12 Player of the Year and a second-team All-American nod for his efforts. Though undersized as a 6'5 forward, Tucker's combination of production and toughness put him on the NBA radar, and a couple hours after selecting Andrea Bargnani with the first overall pick, the Toronto Raptors made PJ the 35th selection of the 2006 draft.
Value pick here, Big 12 Player of the Year. A PJ stands for Pop Jr., Jay.
7'1" wingspan, even though he's only 6'5", he'll just bully you. He gets every loose ball. He's a very, very solid rebounder and a very good individual defender. I really like him as a player.
Unlike his stops at Enloe and Texas, however, Tucker wasn't able to make an immediate impact or even carve out a role for himself on a surprisingly competitive Raptors team in 2006-2007. Tucker totaled just 83 minutes over a debut season spent bouncing between the association and the then D-League. That was one of the worst years of my life, Tucker told ESPN's Mark Spears. I wasn't playing, I couldn't get reps in practice, and it's big boy basketball, grown men. You had guys feeding their families. I'm thinking I'm all world, but I didn't know what it meant to be a pro. With about a month left in the season, the Raptors waived Tucker to make room for Luke Jackson. 15 years later, Tucker has logged 8,000 plus more NBA minutes than Jackson and Bargnani combined, but no one could have predicted that at the time. After Toronto released him, Tucker spent Summer League with Cleveland, then headed overseas to begin a European adventure that came to define him. Between 2007 to 2012, Tucker played in Israel, Ukraine, Puerto Rico, Italy, Greece, and Germany, with victories and accolades following him almost everywhere he went. In his debut season in Israel, Tucker won League MVP and Finals MVP while leading Hapoel Holon to the team's first championship. At BC Donetsk in Ukraine, Tucker led the league in scoring, was named an All-Star, and carried a team that had just been promoted to the top league for the first time, all the way to a third-place finish. After a disappointing spell in Italy and Greece, he won a German championship and another Finals MVP award with Brose Bamberg in 2012. Which led to a multi-million-dollar 2-year contract with Russian club Spartak St. Petersburg. Tucker got the full European sporting experience, from teams bankrupting in the middle of the season, as his Donetsk team did in 2010, to the violent fervor of fans there. "It's like gangs," Tucker once recalled to me about rowdy, restless basketball crowds in Europe, noting that he had to travel with a security detail for one rivalry game in Greece. "I played a game in Turkey where fans were using a lighter to light coins, then throwing them at us," he added. Though it seemed a fitting atmosphere for one of the game's most intimidating players, rather than remaining in Europe on his lucrative new Russian deal, Tucker instead bet on himself and a 2012 Summer League invite followed by a non-guaranteed training camp deal with the Suns. Ultimately, Tucker did enough to earn a spot on the Suns roster, returning to the NBA after a half-decade sojourn in Europe. And it definitely helped that Suns Summer League coach and team legend Dan Marley saw the defensive dirty work potential in Tucker. Unlike his time in Toronto 5 years earlier, Tucker made an immediate impression in Phoenix. His 6.4 points and 4.4 rebounds didn't exactly pop off the page during that 2012-13 campaign, but Tucker made a name for himself as an NBA defender, while averaging more than 24 minutes per game and emerging as a starter by the midway point of the year. Still, the now 28-year-old had to head back to Summer League and once again fight for his job, and once again, he prevailed. After another improved season for a 48-win Suns team in 2013-14, during which Tucker emerged as a three-point threat for the first time in his career, he finally got his due, signing a 3-year, $16.5 million contract to remain in Phoenix. Europe was now firmly in the rearview mirror. PJ Tucker was an NBA player, nothing less. The team's success Tucker found in Europe eluded him back home, however, as the 2006 draftee didn't get his first taste of NBA playoff action until the Raptors reacquired him at the 2017 trade deadline. Though his second stint in Toronto was even shorter than his first, this time the Raptors wanted to keep the hard-nosed forward, as Tucker had more than proven his worth to a team with real postseason aspirations.
DeRozan finds PJ Tucker. Tucker connects from downtown. It's a 9-0 run, and it's a 6-point game.
Rival contenders noticed, while Tucker developed an insatiable appetite for playoff basketball. Houston rewarded PJ with a 4-year, $32 million contract to become the do-it-all glue guy for James Harden-led Rockets teams that were fiending for championships. As an NBAer, Tucker was never more at home than in Houston, where the high-powered Rockets needed his one-on-one defense against the league's premier scorers and his help D as the perfect small ball center. On the other end, Tucker, now a sniper from the corners, could feast on open looks created by Harden's penetration. Though those Rockets teams never got over the hump, Tucker finished second in total minutes behind Harden in each of his 3 full years in Houston, averaging roughly 7 points, 6 rebounds, and a steal in 32 minutes, while shooting 36.9% from deep for Rockets teams that averaged 56 wins per 82 games. Remarkably, yet not surprisingly, for those who followed Tucker's inspiring and resilient career, PJ suited up for all 276 regular season and playoff games over those 3 seasons. And no performance epitomized his value to those Rockets teams or his heart like Game 7 of the 2018 Western Conference Finals. Though that classic between Houston and the mighty Warriors is often remembered for the Chris Paul-less Rockets missing 27 straight three-pointers, it was also a night that featured Tucker heroics. Just hours after undergoing multiple root canals due to cracked teeth suffered in Game 6, Tucker logged 44.5 minutes, guarded Kevin Durant all night, scored 14 points, grabbed 12 rebounds, 8 of them offensive, and recorded 4 steals and 2 assists in a heartbreaking loss. By this point, everyone wanted to see Tucker win it all, and when the Rockets sputtered and then traded Harden in 2021, Houston gave Tucker the opportunity to do just that with a deadline week trade to the Giannis Antetokounmpo-led Bucks. Tucker had seemingly lost a step after missing 20 games that season due to various lower body injuries. To put that in perspective, he had missed just 9 games total over the 8 years prior. But PJ summoned whatever he had left throughout that playoff run in Milwaukee, proving invaluable to the team's first championship run in 50 years.
Somebody asked me the other day, it was like, was it 10 or 11 when I was in Germany, like, what would I tell myself now? Like, what would I tell myself? And I was like, you ain't gonna believe this shit. But now I'm like, you definitely ain't gonna believe this shit. Like it's really happened. Like it really happened. 15 years, so.
The Bucks performed 7.8 points per 100 possessions better with Tucker on the court as opposed to on the bench during the 2021 playoffs, with a veteran second-round defensive matchup against Durant one of the highlights of the postseason.
We dream about this our whole lives. Like I dream about being in the playoffs, guarding the best player in the world. Like that's like this is what I'll die out there. I'm living my dream. I'm not backing down from nothing. I'm fighting for every inch.
Even when it's your son being bullied and pushed around the court by Tucker, how can you hate a guy who leaves every ounce of himself out there every time he takes the floor?
There's a video on Instagram. Your back is turned in Game 7, so you can't really tell what you are saying to Wanda, to his mother. And then she says back, "I love you too."
Durant so important defensively for the Bucks.
And the Bucks now over the foul limit.
Though skeptics might have assumed the 2020-21 season was the beginning of the end for Tucker, he bounced back with Miami in 2021-2022, appearing in 71 games for the top-seeded Heat while averaging 7.6 points, his highest scoring season in 6 years. He also shot a career-best 41.5% from deep during the regular season, then converted more than 45% of his three-point attempts in the playoffs, where the Heat came up one win shy of Tucker's second straight finals appearance. The title-starved Sixers saw enough to hand the 37-year-old a 3-year, $33 million contract that will bring Tucker's career NBA earnings to $90 million. Not bad for a guy who looked like an NBA flameout a decade and a half ago. While he spent those 15 years solidifying himself as one of the basketball world's toughest players on the court, Tucker also carved out a reputation as one of the trendiest athletes off of it. With enough kicks and rare finds to fill a small house, Tucker is the NBA's ultimate sneakerhead.
Probably have 700-ish to 1,000 depending on days.
After years spent browsing and monitoring some of Europe's top fashion houses, he's also emerged as a fashion-forward star with an eye for emerging styles. Tucker even designed his own sneaker with Dolce & Gabbana. "What regular people call stunting is everyday life for me," Tucker once quipped to GQ. At the NBA level, PJ Tucker was never a star, but after a globe-trotting journey fueled by blood, sweat, tears, and ultimately wins, you'd be hard-pressed to find a more respected player. When PJ Tucker says he'd die out there, you get the sense he means it. Thanks for watching. If you liked this video and want to see more content like this, be sure to hit that subscribe button.